Let's talk about courage as a skill that our kids can acquire and that we can intentionally parent for. So, first, the first thing is let's define what courage is and what it isn't. We're used to thinking of courage, at least I was, in terms of the very pop cultural, almost Pixar Disney sense, because that was the way I was raised in the movies that I consumed. I thought of courage as a very dramatic and heroic quality. The in my childhood, that was Rocky Balboa. When I was a little older, that was Danny LaRusso from The Karate Kid, or even Pete Maverick Mitchell from Top Gun. But actual courage and day-to-day application of courage as a skill is way simpler and can be thought way more of as a skill that our children can acquire and apply, as opposed to necessarily a quality that someone simply has or doesn't have. What courage is simply is being able to feel anxious, afraid, nervous, or uncertain or insecure, and yet still be able to act despite those feelings. It's being comfortable with your discomfort. It's a skill that you can apply over time, like grit, despite setbacks and self-doubt, and still act. What courage is in the action despite those feelings. So how do we model that as parents? First off is acknowledging what courage is for ourselves. It can be something as simple as being able to have a hard conversation, even though it makes us uncomfortable and we might be afraid of what we hear. In our kids' lives, it could be as simple as showing up for a tryout or a test, even though they're afraid they might fail. Or even asking someone out on a date in high school, even though you're worried you might be turned down. When we parent for this and model this, it's important that we acknowledge our own feelings of fear and insecurity and uncertainty, and how we are open with that and verbalize that to our kids, even as young as toddlers, preschoolers, school-age kids, and still show them how I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to accept this and move forward, despite the fact that I'm afraid and I feel uncertain or I feel insecure. So, thinking of courage as a skill that can be acquired and that can be taught has massive benefits to mental health through their whole lives. And it's ultimately rooted in a version of self-esteem. So let's think about this in our kids. Let's think about how we model and how our kids can all learn how to be courageous. And that in itself is heroic. And parenting in itself is heroic. But it's not dramatic movie heroic. It's mundane, day-to-day heroism. That's what parenting is.